All right. I pray that that's recording because I can't see the screen.
Oh yeah. Do you want me
Should
to
be.
face it towards you?
Yeah. And flip it, please. Ooh, that was a close one.
I know.
Sorry, Axel. Now you gotta do it all over again.
Do you like how I just saved that shot? that was my Spidey senses kicking in.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's funny.
Let's just record. Gerald, you're just gonna have to deal with not being able to see yourself.
I think I might make that a part of the intro.
No.
I'm like, what happened? Where'd it go?
Okay. I know that was funny.
Where's the volume on this?
It's on the side.
Is it this big wheel? This is an Xbox.
Oh well.
Oh, here we go. It is the volume.
Oh, is it the volume?
Oh my god.
I never knew that.
That's freaking cool.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, I don't have
we
it.
gave you the professional ones. Cool.
We get the volume. Hold on.
All right.
This is cool. Yeah, we're here, dude. This is cool.
Whenever you're ready.
Yeah. But anyway, how was your weekend?
How's my weekend?
Yeah.
Was it the weekend? What is today?
Well, today's Tuesday. Okay.
How was your weekend and Monday?
And Monday.
And Monday. Do I recall my weekend?
I never recall.
That's
mine.
exactly.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that's exactly how I usually always respond. I'm like, what did I do?
Yeah, I don't. So my weekends start Friday.
Okay.
So I set up a life for myself where I work across my 3 businesses Monday through Thursday till 3:30.
Oh, nice.
And that's when I have nanny care.
Oh, cool.
And then from 3:30 till Monday 8:30, it's just me and my daughter and my dog. And we get to kind of do whatever we want. So that kind of blends into...
Right.
Yeah, so I don't remember us doing anything very specific.
It was one of those weekends you just probably...
Yeah, it was one of those, like, we almost went to the beach on Saturday, and then I realized it was going to be a little nicer this coming weekend, so we kind of decided to hold off.
Okay.
So my weekends are just my downtime to be engaged with my child, be present, like... be carefree, put work down.
Yeah.
And just let the days unfold. I don't even like to schedule events, like, which makes it challenging because I do like to see my friends.
Right. Yeah.
But I kind of just want to like have my weekends. I'm so scheduled during the week, and I'm so focused in the areas that light me up that like I really like creating the like white space.
Yeah.
And just letting me and my daughter kind of like lead where we want to go next, what we want to do next. Do we want to just be? Do we want to stay in our jammies? Do we wanna,
that's awesome.
You know, like,
that's awesome.
So it doesn't always work out that way, and
Yeah.
obviously, like, in order to do really fun things, sometimes we have to schedule and plan with friends. But yeah, so
that's cool. That's cool.
So I don't always even remember.
That's good.
Well, I feel like Daryl asked that because we kind of came back from like our little vacation. Well,
Right.
I just came back from a little vacation, so today feels like my Monday.
You had a vacation?
Yeah.
Oh, I went to Joshua Tree.
Oh yeah, your little weekend.
So I went to Joshua Tree and then I just went to Disney.
Nice.
But like yeah, like I'm coming back today and I'm like, oh yeah, yesterday was the weekend. And then
Yeah.
no, it's not. It's like Monday was
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I just took a week off. Like
Ooh.
I took a week off.
Oh yeah,
for you.
yeah.
Of my job and this
Yeah.
because I love doing this, but when you're so focused on something that you love for such a long period of time, like
You stretch
even
yourself.
then, like you need a break, you know?
Totally.
Because my head's been. I've never taken a vacation in my life.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Never.
This is your first vacation?
First vacation I've ever taken in my whole life. Never taken. I didn't even go anywhere. I just wanted a break. I'm like, I don't want to think about this.
Oh, you did the staycation.
Yeah, I did a staycation.
Yeah.
There you go.
For a week.
Next
Yeah,
is
yeah.
vacation. dude.
And I only thought about, like, all I did was I woke up and I'm like, what am I going to do today?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I journaled.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah,
but
good for you.
Yeah, we need that. We
But,
need that.
but yeah, and exactly, dude. I feel like I think especially for you, man. I mean, you kind of like there's nonstop, man. It's always something. It's always like even on the days where you say, "Oh, today's my day off." Like we usually end up, or even you just usually end up working on some kind of creative thing. But when he told me that I think like a couple weeks ago that you just needed to take like a week off from like everything.
Yep.
And I remember thinking like, dude, you need to do that like more often. Like
yes, because man, I've just been working so hard for
Yeah.
years. No vacation for years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like I had a point where I was like, dang, I need this.
Yeah.
Like, so
Yeah.
bad, and I took it. But,
That's cool, man. So
Yeah.
how did it go though? How did it go? Like, did you plan anything? I know you were saying you kind of just wanted to just drop and just see what happened, right?
Yeah.
Did you go to?
Did I go to Knott's Berry Farm?
Yeah, did you go to Knott's Berry?
by myself?
He went
Yes.
to, yeah.
Good
I
for
don't,
you.
I don't know why. That's just something I wanted. I love Knott's Berry Farm for some freaking reason.
It's cool.
I don't know why. It might be a nostalgia thing, but
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
I had this random like I want to go to Knott's by myself for some reason and just go think and then get on some roller coasters and
There
then
you
go
go.
think.
And
That
what was it like?
It was cool. You know, the thing is, like, when you do something like that, like go to a theme park by yourself, like I'm not that much. I do a podcast, but beyond this, I'm not that much of a social person. Like when I'm in line for a ride, I'm not the type that makes conversation with people next to me.
Right.
So it's like I remember leaving the theme park feeling like, dang, I had not said a word in like 6
Oh,
So it was like a
hours.
meditative trip.
It was a meditative
Not
trip.
That's
very
cool. Yeah.
fun.
No.
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
didn't. I just like it's like I didn't realize until the end of it. I was like, yeah, I'm here by myself, so I hadn't said a word. The only words I've said are just like fuck, shit, God
Like-
fucking damn.
Yeah.
other than that,
That's funny.
but
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
It's so interesting as like a performer and a creative person and like being in front on stage or in front of the camera or doing music shows, like what I found as someone who has lived in that realm as well is like in 2020 it was fascinating to me. I always thought of myself as an extrovert, and in 2020 I was like, oh my god, I think I'm an introvert.
No way.
And I think I love this
Yeah.
alone thing, and I find that like while I'm comfortable socially, like I'm not nervous or uncomfortable in
Yeah.
different social situations or on a stage in front of a big audience or whatever, but like I find that I come back feeling tired.
A lot of your
And-
emotional energy. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I need that time to recharge. And I think a lot of us in our culture, the way that we're sort of glorifying busy and
Yeah.
success driven, and we don't give ourselves that space or that time, or it's rare that someone says, you know what, I'm going to take a week off and
Yeah.
not do anything but what I want to do and
That's so true.
be on my own and think with my thoughts and write them in a journal. And
Yeah.
it's so cool that
Well, yeah, that's so true. That's true. And that's what I'm saying. Like, there is kind of like a, I mean, it's everywhere. People are kind of like you said, glorifying like the hustle, like the hustle
Yeah.
culture, and like you got to be at it like all day, every day. And if you're not doing it, then you know like it's on you because you know.
yeah, we're told that
Yeah.
that's the way. You have to work to exhaustion and
Yeah.
overwhelm in order to reach that success is possible.
Yeah.
But it has to come with this like drive. And I've learned that the complete opposite. That is one way.
Yeah.
But it's not. You're gonna have all the there's the benefit of reaching the goal, but then there's a lot of costs. And I've learned through the work that I do as a coach that it doesn't have to go that way. When I first started working with a coach myself, I remember my very first conversation, and I'd actually had a different coach before, but my very first conversation with the coaches that I worked with before I went to school and trained and became a coach was I was working at that time. I had just moved from the East Coast to LA. I had sold my dance studio back east. I left my home. I left like a very comfortable life
Yeah.
because I felt like it was just really static, and I felt like I needed to grow and change things. And
Right.
Something
so,
was yeah.
yeah, and so I came out here. Everyone thought I was kind of crazy to give up
Yeah,
a relatively happy, like there was nothing wrong with my life, to kind of start from scratch. And so when I first came out here, I was working 7 days a week to absolute exhaustion. The studio that I had taken over was not in the greatest shape. I had been in a 5-year relationship with my ex where it was really good and then really bad and then really good, and we were just never gonna get off that wheel. You
Yeah,
had lived
okay.
together 5 years, and like utmost respect for him, and we're still friends and everything. But
Yeah.
and my life was that drive,
Yeah.
and I remember having the conversation with the coaches, and I was telling them, they say like, well, what are your goals and what do you want to create?
Yeah.
And I'm, telling them my vision, and they're like, well, what if you could have all of that without working and more without working so hard? And I was like, well, that sounds good, but how is that possible?
Yeah.
We're just so taught the belief of hustle culture. And so they challenged me a little bit at a time. And I remember in the very beginning, they were like, what if you took like a Friday off or a day off? And I was working 7 days a week. And I was like, ooh, I don't think I could take a whole day off. I could maybe do a half day. And I didn't even think I had time for the hour conversation weekly with them. And then I remember they somehow convinced me to give it a try for the whole day. And I remember the beginning was so great. Like I sat outside on my deck and I had breakfast and I read my book and the birds were chirping and I was like, this is amazing.
You're like, I gotta try this out.
I don't have to do anything. And then like an hour or two went by and then I was like, okay, what do I do now?
You start to kind of feel
like,
that.
What do I do now? And then I was like, I kind of want to clean the bathroom, but I like, or I want to do something productive.
I clean my room. I always like rearrange my room whenever I get that feeling.
Or like I want to work on that project, but I promised myself it was going to be a nothing, just like being with myself.
And it's trippy because like I've had that experience too where I give myself the day and I'm like, all right, Dale, just remember like, you deserve a day. Like you get to have a day every once in a while. You get to have a day, but sometimes like when you're used to constantly trying to get things done, even when you give yourself a day and you promise yourself a day, you can't help but feel like, oh, I'm wasting time though. It's the
the cheating, or you find a way to like sneak something in.
Yeah,
you like cheat on yourself.
I do that all the time.
Because I did that on my little vacation. I was at home and I was like, I gotta do something, and then I ended up I pulled open my editing software, started making little I did like little Photoshop images for like a bunch of Planet stuff. So cool. I ended up working anyway, but I think when you end up being productive on days like that, it kind of allows you to work on things that you normally don't have time for.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's like when you're busy every week with those main things that you want to continually work on, it's like I always find myself stacked with what's like I got this and this and that to do every week that I always barely have time for this side thing I wish I had time for, or this thing, and all this stuff just wears me out. But when I took that break, I removed all the stuff that wore me out, and so all the little extra things I actually kind of felt like doing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. What if you were able to create a life where you put the things that light you up the most on the highest part of that priority list? Like, number one, what would that list look like for you? And number two, what are you telling yourself is in the way of putting that first?
Basically, you're asking me, like, what are the things that I prioritize most?
Number one, what if you're talking about like projects that light you up, like you did the thing that like is fun work for you.
Okay.
Where would you spend your time if you could follow what lights you up the most? And then looking at that, like what would that order be? Well, like first I'd work on podcast stuff, or I'd work on music, or whatever it may be. And then look at how is your daily life going? Like, what comes first? And for everybody, like, it's often the to-do list, the job that makes the money, that pays the bills. It's like the same. And then there's, so in the work that I do, it's like, what has you believing it has to go that way? And what if it could go the way that you want? And you're still not neglecting anything. You're just shifting the priority to grow what you actually want to be the life that will bring you success and wholehearted success.
That's true. It's hard. I feel like for me, and I maybe with like other people too that I've noticed, I feel like sometimes for me, like and you know what? I think I read this when he told me we were gonna be talking to you. Yeah. I checked your website and I was looking and I was like, oh, this is cool. I've actually never met a life coach. I've never met like somebody who does this, but I was reading and I think I read. I mean, very very like true that I think we have like I have bad habits, like, or at least kind of like the hustle thing. It's like I used to write every day because I went to film school and I was like, I love writing. I love to do this. But there was a point where I was going every single day and writing and like I have to every day write, face the blank page. So in my head I was like, okay, I'm doing what I love, but you're right.
Losing the love or something.
Yeah, it's not, and exactly, and it was kind of scary thinking about that. I'm like, am I losing the love for the thing that I
love the most?
Yeah, and I think it goes back to that hustle thing where I really had to kind of like tell myself like, look, just stop, like just stop for a moment and just kind of like pay attention to maybe where is your focus kind of shifting.
Yeah,
like,
and,
you know.
And also, I think through that, it's also realizing what it is that you love. Like going into filmmaking, for example, like I thought, oh, I want to be a writer director, so I must love writing. And then when I started learning how to write and getting into it, I'm like, this isn't my favorite part, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
you know, so it's
exactly.
like you're telling yourself, I'm a writer, so I'm supposed to be doing this because this is what I love. And then all of a sudden you're like, I'm stressed every day. What's going on? I'm like, wait a second. Step back. Do you love this part?
Well,
Yeah.
Can I? Yeah. Well, I'll ask you something right now. Go for it.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that reminds me of, so when I was in my 20s and I was living in New York and I was mainly pursuing acting, but I still continued to study dance, like, and was taking classes at the like professional dance studios and stuff. And I remember this clearly. This was like a life-changing moment for me where my agent called with an audition for a TV show, and I was like, man, it's at the same time as Brian's dance class. Like, I don't want to miss that class. And then I was like,
interesting.
Wait, what does that mean, you know?
Yeah.
And then, of course, my mind goes to like success, or like what I thought the definition of success was. So I was like, well, if I'd rather be in dance class than go to this audition, do I want to be a dancer? And then should I start auditioning for things? And then I'm looking around and like the people in my class were, you know, in The Lion King on Broadway and on tour with Madonna and like working in the industry. So then I was like, okay, maybe I want to shift my focus. So then I started auditioning for things, and then I booked a couple of things right out off the bat. And I was like, but then I was in rehearsal and I was like, I don't like just rehearsing the same thing over and over again. Like, I like being in class. Oh. And then I was like, well, how does someone make money being in class? And then my mom was like, you could be a teacher. And I was like, no, those who can't, like I had this strong belief that those who can't do teach, or that's what you do when you retire.
Right.
And then, you know, cut to, I lived in New York during 9/11 and left the city for a little bit to just take a break and did some master classes and was like,
interesting.
Like, this is bad.
That's cool.
I can't like the thing my mom wants me to do.
That's funny. That's funny.
Dude, that's great.
But I think like what you say is like we give ourselves identities. Like, I'm going to be a writer director. I'm a writer director. And then you're like, I don't really like this part of it. Or same with me with film. Like, I grew up in the theater and I love the live experience as an actor, which is not anything I do anymore, but but then, you know, I was like, well, I want to win an Oscar. You know, I want to
like you want to be where
you think it looks the life looks the happiest and the most glamorous, and
it's the identity. Like, you want to be at the end of that finish line saying, I'm the writer, the director.
Yeah.
Because of, like,
but if you don't
blah,
like
blah.
the process,
that's
what I found with film. It's like. It's like you're shooting out of order, and it's just so, it's not as real as having like that that authentic connection that you have on stage, or like you know, we can have in just having conversation with each other and speaking our truth. So it's interesting.
And I guess that's kind of what I was gonna ask you is like, okay, so like for somebody who comes to you as like who wants to have some life coaching, like do you get that a lot? Do you have people say, well, like they may not even know what they love? Because I mean, like, kind of like me, like I love filmmaking and like the whole directing and writing thing, but there was a moment where I was like, what do I enjoy more, like directing and writing the movie, or actually being the person helping produce it, like being the guy who's like, hey, I can handle all these things, like you know? It's weird. And but the thing is, and that's what I'm saying, it's kind of like I guess I'm trying to have a nuanced way of like this, because I don't want to give up that directing writing title. I think it's kind of like what you said. Like, I want to take my time and find the story that I want to tell. And it may take a year, it may take 2, it may take a while, but I want it to come very naturally, because I feel like if I tell a really strong story, it's better than I feel like me just trying to pump stuff out that I know is just gonna be like, like, oh, it's gonna work. Yeah, this is gonna get us views. But for me, it does nothing to like. It doesn't feed my soul. You know.
Yeah, exactly what I was going to. You just
satisfying.
took the words out of my mouth, like feed my soul.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, and I think oftentimes when clients first come to me, they have some people just say like, I'm unhappy and here's where I'm unhappy and I want to shift that.
Okay.
And so they don't have the clear vision, but a lot of people come with a clear vision of what they want to create. And that vision is often very like specifically external. Like I want to be a writer director, or I want to, and then as we start to have the conversation and bring awareness to like, what's in the way. So the way coaching works is, it's different than like, therapy or consulting is often how I use to compare like what coaching is.
I was gonna say, I was like therapy. I was like, because who knows if you need therapy or like a life coach? Cause for me, I'm thinking like,
and they're both great. I mean, they're both great. I don't knock.
It's like supplementing each other.
They often support each other.
Yeah.
So I'll often, if we hit something, that seems more in the therapy realm, I may, give us an offer if you'd like a resource, or this might be beneficial for you.
Right.
The biggest difference, so therapy is often about fixing a problem, healing a trauma, addiction, treating a disorder. And oftentimes therapy, although there are different modalities now in that world as well, is you look into the past, at what happened, or what the trauma was, or what happened that is now preventing you from living a happy and healthy life, or evoking you or triggering you in your present.
It's like I think we talked about it last time, there's like the childhood. There's a little bit more emphasis on what happened maybe when you were younger and stuff.
Yeah. And so you look to the past to like, and then connect that to the present, and create with an expert, a doctor, like create some sort of treatment plan or behavioral plan or to live your most healthy and happy life. And in coaching, like, we want everyone to live their most healthy and happy life. The biggest difference is that the approach, we're mainly future based. So we look at, we get really clear on what would your most wholehearted life of meaning, purpose, lit up joy, connection, what does that look like or feel like, or what do you want that to look like or feel like in different areas? And some people come clearly like with career aspirations, or romance, or just coming, like being burnout or or just not having found their place yet. And so we try to get really clear on what that might look like.
Interesting.
And then we look at, well, where are you now in the present? We rarely will delve into the past, sometimes just briefly to just point to like, oh, this is a belief that was taught to you. Is it actually what you believe? Or was it just, and what do you believe? And stuff like that.
It's actually helpful, like futuristic, like it's more, it doesn't have, because sometimes I get the mistake of thinking it's like a career, like a life coach is for what you want to do as a career.
And it becomes something, and a lot of people go into it thinking that like
that's what I would assume.
And it ends up being something so different, and in my own experience as a client of coaching and as a coach, what I hear over and over again, and what I've experienced is like, you go in thinking you're gonna like check the boxes of the things that you think light you up, and then you may find some of those things may still light you up. Some of those things may no longer light you up, or really never did.
Writing, Daryl.
Or but it's more a journey inward. Like you start to bring awareness to like your present. And so what you're doing is you create that vision, and then you look at where are you in the present, and how do I bridge the gap? So what's missing or in the way? And a lot of it is like, are we living from that whisper of our soul, or are we living from our ego or our essence? And ego, I don't know, or our ego or our like survival mechanisms. So a lot of us, the way that we operate in the world was comes from kind of like protecting ourselves.
Like coping, like how to like mechanisms of like I think I understand what you're saying.
Or like or what we were taught to believe was important. I also think every human on the planet, maybe there are some really evolved people out there that would be excluded, but have some flavor of not enough. Like,
Oh, okay.
like everyone has their own flavor of not enough, not worthy enough, not smart enough,
Oh, okay,
not
Okay.
lovable enough.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, or sometimes it's too much. I need to tone it down. I'm too much.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times we create a life that like, where we're trying to compensate for that, whatever our not enough sentences.
Yeah.
As opposed to listening to that whisper of like, what would you choose if you actually believed it was possible?
Yeah.
Or what really lights you up? And sometimes it's like, what really lights me up is like doing nothing or,
Yeah.
listening to podcasts.
Yeah,
and
yeah. What lights you up, Daryl?
Yeah.
What lit you? Maybe this is a good question. In that week that you took off, like,
Yeah.
what do you think was the most like the highlight of that like week that you took off, man?
The highlight?
Because I'll say this, man. I think it was when you came to me saying like I need a week off from everything, like Planet included. You're right, man. I think that was the first time you ever told me that,
Yeah.
and I was like, interesting. And I think, what would you say? Yeah, it was like
The highlight of it.
yeah, like what would you say lit you up, man? Or do you think you were still trying to navigate like not having to do anything? Maybe that's a bad question.
What lit me up? I think it's kind of like back to what we were talking about before.
Mm-hmm.
It's I found, I wanted to get away from all those things. I thought I needed to get away from all those things, but really, what I was trying to get away from was all the little aspects. Like I love filmmaking, right?
Yeah.
But of course, there's tons of things within that I'm not going to love.
Yeah.
I find that, throughout all our work, most of the stuff, unfortunately, most of the stuff we do is the stuff we don't like, It's our favorite part is this part, when we have the cameras rolling and the lights are up and we're in the middle of the work.
That's so
this
true.
is the best part.
Yeah.
My favorite part also is when it's out, when it's completed,
Yeah.
That's when I feel happy. But there's a lot of things that go into it that I get stressed about.
Like,
I'm just like, oh man, I got
the amount of lighting, the equipment that breaks down, editing,
or sometimes preparation, sorts of preparation, things like that. So during that vacation, I found myself still working on Planet. A couple days in, I found myself working on it, but it was just the things that I never get to do. And those were the things that I had a lot of fun doing.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed. You did notice. 2 days ago, I think it was yesterday. I posted a bunch of little advertisements for each of our programs on.
I think so. Yeah,
TV.
yeah.
I made like these little. I spent hours making these little advertisement, just cheap little Photoshop advertisements, just for every single little program that we have on our YouTube channel, including this podcast. And I just did that, and I had a blast. I was like, this is fun. Like, I really love doing this.
Yeah.
I think putting the world of Planet together, as a world of its own, besides all the stuff that goes into it.
Yeah.
Like this podcast is one of the things that's a part of that world.
Yeah.
And to create that podcast comes a lot of this work. But I like the world. I like Planet.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, making the podcast is fun, but I also love promoting the podcast.
Yeah.
And making like creative little ad videos for them.
I think it's the visual. I think he's always been good at the waiting screen on our YouTube videos. Whenever we have like a live or some kind of like the K-Night.
Whenever we broadcast like a new program or show, we kind of on YouTube, what we do is we'll like live stream it, but we'll broadcast it as if it's done like a public access TV station. So I have like I'll have like a schedule and like a lineup on there, like at 8 p.m. this plays. And I love designing it. It's like I love to design my own TV
the
channel.
visual. Yeah, it's like you like having he likes seeing the visual and creating that visual aesthetic of Planet.
Yeah. So I'm a big picture guy. I think that's what it is. I'm a big picture dude, and
visionary.
I love and it's the small stuff that kind of like messes with me, dude.
Yeah.
I get overwhelmed.
No, and it's true because it is a two-man band. I mean, like it's true. There is a lot of aspects to filmmaking because it's such a collaborative thing.
Sure.
like right now we're doing the sound, we're doing the cameras, we're doing the, like, we have to kind of be a jack of all trades.
Right.
And I think because we've been doing it for so long, I mean, I've gone through burnout, man. I feel like I'm still burned out from like just years and years just hitting the ground. Even my girlfriend, she was just like, I tell her, I was like, dude, I don't take any vacations. Like, I haven't gotten to so many, like, it's neglect. If anything, that's the thing that like interests me. I think what fascinates me about your thing is that like, like a life coach is somebody, like, just hearing you is just like, oh yeah, like there is a dissection to like you can't just keep doing the same little things and expecting, like, you know, people change. Like my interests are changing, and I think
and just the belief that you guys can still pursue what you love without, there's a way to do it without the burnout, maybe.
No, yeah,
just a suggestion.
I think we
or
can,
like, and what's so cool is like in your time off, you went to the thing or the part of your business that was fun. Like you lit up when talking about it, and you were like, I just got to like play with it, and what I almost hear is, because you said like the thing I don't get to do, and then my brain went, well, like, who tells them what he gets to do or not do?
That's what I always,
like, that was kind of my kind of thought, like, who's telling him he can only do this on his time off? And then like what and that's where that like original priorities question that I asked was like, what are the parts that light you up the most? And you said like the more expansive, visionary, like zoomed out stuff, and the details aren't your thing. So it's like, great, create a life or like where and I know, when I first made a shift at my dance studio. So I've now been a studio owner for 20 years.
Oh yeah.
Which is like,
you gotta tell us about that. Yeah,
this is my 20th year of owning dance studio,
congrats.
and like I did everything initially, and I would teach like 5 hours a day, you know, and I loved it.
So what's the name of your dance studio?
It's called Inspire Dance Studio.
Okay, Inspire.
It's mainly for kids ages 3 to 18. We do have adult workshops. We have a lot of renters as well who teach different adult classes. Okay. Cool. It's in La Cañada.
Okay.
Which is like kind of near Pasadena and Burbank.
Yeah.
Right,
it's like right above Pasadena.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
And so when I first realized like I don't really like any of the admin stuff, like any of that background stuff. Like I love teaching, I love dancing, I love being with the kids, I love putting together the shows, you know, different things that I love to do. And, you know, when I had my coaches and they were like, well, why are you working 7 days? Well, I have to do this, I have to do that. And what parts do you love doing? And it was so easy to answer.
Yeah.
And then but I was like, but you have to do these things if you're going to be a business owner.
Right.
And I want to be a business owner because, you know, for whatever reason. And then I remember being like, well, someday I'll be able to afford if I can grow it to this point. We always tell ourselves that story of like, when I get to here, then I can give myself the life that I want. Then I can take the vacation. Then I can hire a manager, hire the team to do the sound and all the other stuff. And again, you know, initially that first experience is they challenged me to create what I needed in the now and not wait for like, oh, the business has to reach a certain number for me to be able to afford. And so I did. I ended up finding out that colleges have intern programs where kids get credit, and my first front desk person was a college student who was getting like school credit to come and
that's awesome.
And work for free.
Wow, okay. That's cool.
And that's how it initially started. And in my first 6 months of working with my coaches, and this is back a few years, well before I went and got trained and certified and have the business that I have now, but literally within a 6-month contract, I started, like I said, working 7 days a week to absolute exhaustion in this relationship that was really good, really bad. We were never going to get off that wheel, and didn't have time for anything else. And in that first 6 months, I set an income goal at the studio. I tripled it and cut my work schedule in half.
That's the life. I mean, that's
and broke
amazing.
up with my ex in the best way possible.
Yeah.
We're still friends, you know, and I was so blown away by the work, like the process of like really paying attention to the stories that we tell ourselves, really looking at like what is in the way. Is it, and it's never the thing you think it is. Most people think it's like time and money. Like those are the two big things that we hear.
Yeah.
And it's always something deeper or underneath or belief or full belief systems that don't even actually like aren't really part of who we are in our core, or like our core value, or don't align with our core values, or like I don't know. And I just remember being like, I had no desire to become a life coach. Like I was literally just like, everyone I know and love has to have access to this work. So,
that's cool.
So I'm going to go to school for a year and get certified just so that I can like share it with people I love. And part of that process, you have to have clients and have paying clients and pass all these exams and blah, blah, blah. And along the way, I was like, ooh, I think I now I have another business.
Oh, that's
And it sort of just happened organically. And now I get to stand for myself. And I think like, there's almost more pressure on me to like make sure that I'm what's that expression? Talking the talk, walking.
Oh yeah.
Walking the talk?
Walking the talk, yeah.
Walking the walk, talking the talk.
Yeah.
I'm so confused.
We're bad at this. It's okay. I think that's true.
But that like
walk the walk, talk the talk.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Yeah. And so like it's so important to me to like keep doing my own work.
Yeah.
To like keep shifting and evolving and connecting and being vulnerable and courageous and stepping outside of my comfort zone to be sitting in that pocket of like just like a connected life where like I feel like I'm being of use in a positive way, but also
it's like
in it with you.
It's like fulfillment. Like you feel like fulfilled.
Yeah.
And I would say like I feel like it's like you were able to really like listen and you kind of were able to I guess paths were open up to you. It's kind of like the internship. You didn't realize that path was there for you to take to get where you wanted.
Yeah.
And I feel like a good way to sometimes the way I visualize it is like, man, sometimes I'm just so close to the problem and I can't see any way out. Like I don't see the pathway, so I'm just like, well, I'm just gonna kind of keep going down the path that I know that is kind of, you know.
Yeah.
So that resonates. And I was reading her bio. I was like, three businesses. I was like, how does she do it?
The last one is brand new, and it again just came out of. So I am officially, literally as of this week, because they just came off the printing press, but I am officially a published author.
Oh, nice.
Literally today, my book is on Amazon, but no one has bought it yet because I haven't even announced it to anybody yet.
Oh, okay.
So there's like.
Right. So,
but today it's actually up and out.
Oh, nice. So we get to talk.
So guys, when you guys watch this video, it's gonna be out.
Well,
it's gonna be out and about. Well, no, sorry. Well, it's gonna be.
No, it's out. It's out. It's on Amazon. You can buy it today. Although no one in my world knows yet.
Well, so what's it called?
So it's actually a children's book, and this is a whole other. So I have a daughter. I'm a single mom of a daughter where it was a. In order to bring her in the world, it ended up being an 8-year IVF journey. So, which means I initially started as a single mom wanting to have a baby. So I had to have donor sperm. And this was, cut to now 10 years ago based on like her age and how, but, and along the way, what I found out was like, my body wasn't able to create a child, even with the help of the sperm.
Wow. Yeah.
And so in the end, I had to have donor sperm, donor egg, and a gestational surrogate. My cousin carried my baby. And all three of those were different people. And when it came down to it, there was a lot of sadness and shame for like, I couldn't give my daughter like my DNA, my genetics, or like, what will people think? I mean, and back, 10 years ago, I was like, I'm going to tell people about the sperm. I'm going to tell people about the surrogate. I don't think I'm going to tell I wasn't even going to tell her. And then cut to in her first year of life. Well, the work that I do as a coach allowed me to bring that shame forward and really take a look at what that was, which underneath that was really just fear.
Yeah.
And fear about, which cut to my flavor of not enough that we were talking about earlier,
Yeah.
which mine is always not lovable enough,
Oh.
and that my daughter might not love me enough because I'm not, like her genetic mom or anything. And so, so within her first year of life, and she's a year and a half, I had already decided I was going to share the whole story with her. So I wrote her this magical children's story about how we were two souls who picked each other in the universe and decided we would be mommy and daughter. And I went to Earth first.
That's cool.
What a great pitch.
But I couldn't get my the human ingredient to make your human body to hold your soul.
Yeah.
And so we had these generous people who came to other souls who were already in their human bodies who knew that we belonged together forever and ever.
Oh, man.
Helped us create your human body so that your soul could come be with me. And it's this whole magical story. And then, so I wrote it just for her originally and for me.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And
Love it.
and then I shared it with a few people. So I shared it with my cousin who was adopted from Korea. And then I shared it with one of my best friends who was in foster care since she was at age 3.
Okay.
So raised in foster care system. Both of them cried and said and these are full grown adults, and said I wish I had had a story that told me that the family that was my loving family unit was my destined family, my meant to be family, we were, or so, a similar story.
It wasn't so biological, it wasn't
it's not about, and so then I realized and then also in the first year of life, my little 7-year-old neighbor came over, and my baby was crying when she was a total newborn infant, and my 7-year-old neighbor was I think she's crying because she doesn't have a daddy, and I was this, she's gonna be introduced to some of that, and so so I kept, so that made me think our story needs to be shared, and my friend's story needs to be shared, and my cousin's story needs to be shared, so that everybody who comes from an alternative family, whether it's 2 moms, 2 dads, raised by grandma, raised in foster care, adoption,
not the traditional,
not the traditional, and the traditional.
Oh yeah,
And the traditional,
That's true.
nothing wrong with that.
True.
I'm a product of that. And but just to recognize love is what makes a family.
Yeah.
And that the people that you interact with on this wild journey of life, whether it's just us in this
family, dude, we're family at this point.
And it's but even us in this room together, what are the chances that us 3 souls would end up,
so true, yeah.
And just that we're meant, it's we have a dream for ourselves and how we want life to go, and then depending on your belief system, I think this is an Oprah quote, God has a bigger dream, or the universe, or whatever your spiritual beliefs are, than you can even imagine for yourself. And so another thing that happened, I know now I'm making this such a long story,
No, it's super, it's cool.
Her egg donor, so her this is such a weird topic to talk about in a podcast.
No, yeah.
Eggs and sperm.
we talk about anything.
Don't worry.
It's so in my normal realm these days, but I forget that for some people that's weird.
No.
So her sperm donor chose to be anonymous, so we'll probably never find him, but we will probably be able to find half siblings.
Yeah.
But the egg donor was open to being approached at the time.
Okay.
And I was no, we're not going to. No. And then during this first year of life, I was you know what? I think what would be best for my child, because she's at some point going to ask questions and go searching, most likely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if she knew this, if this woman was still willing? What if she knew this woman and her half siblings, because I knew at that time that she had at least 2, from the beginning of time, and they were just part of, this is donor Tatiana, and these are your half siblings, and they're kind of like how we hang out with our cousins or something.
Right, very normalized.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So we met them last summer.
Cool.
And it went beyond, it was so, the connection, I know that this woman and her family, her children, were supposed to be in my life just as much as they are supposed to be in my daughter's life. Anyway, long story short, I wrote it's called Vivia's Magical Birth Story.
Ooh,
Vivia
okay.
is my daughter.
Yeah, I love that. You named it. That's cool.
Vivia's Magical Birth Story.
That's
and
awesome.
it's just a magical story to help families who may have gone through some of this stuff, maybe shift the narrative, do some healing.
Yeah.
And also to just show other families, like all types of families, like here's a different type of family that's just as like valid and full of love and magic and
I love that.
Yeah.
That's great.
So that's my third. And so I ended up starting a whole publishing company.
Yes.
Because I had a publisher who wanted to publish me, and then she was like, "But I don't know, it kind of falls under
cool.
your Inspire brand."
Yeah.
So I started my own company, and now I have two friends. Actually, one of my clients and my cousin who has like a what do you call it? I always mess these words up. Polyamorous marriage. She's in a polyamorous.
Polyamorous.
I get the pan and poly. I'm like the worst.
Polygamous or I don't remember.
It's not polygamous. 'Cause that's I think like.
What does that mean?
Our ignorance is
like,
showing.
No, I think that's the like, which I don't think is legal in our country, where you have more than one legal wife.
Yeah, that's multiple wives.
That's
though.
polygamy, but it's similar. Like it's kind of.
Well, I guess you're right. Polyamorous is
It's one of those things.
yeah.
But she has a young child too, and so like
That's awesome.
they both want to write their own kind of children's book that they've been wanting to do for some
Yeah.
time, and
Oh,
I'm
that's
like,
cool.
cool.
Opening up
it could
the-
filter
that.
through this,
Yeah.
and then everybody just gets to. Because my biggest thing is like when we give ourselves the freedom to be our most authentic self, whatever that looks like, and at first we might not even know what that means.
Yeah.
But like if we're all walking around like fully expressing ourselves and like I don't want to say like being accepted, but like because it's not about giving ourselves, accepting ourselves for who we fully are, then that's going to be reflected. That's like you're going to create your inner circle of those people. But imagine if we're all walking around just like following what lights us up the most, or like spending our time in the what did you call it? That makes you feel fulfilled.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a fulfillment. Well, I love that because that's so true. I feel like if you're an example of that, like you followed that pull to write that story for your daughter, and out of that came this
whole other thing.
very creative and organic, like you said, very organic thing, and like you're kind of just rolling with it because it feels. I imagine
Yeah, it's
you
just
like
calling to me.
Yeah.
Like now I'm going to write another children's story to honor my cousin and one for my
That's
my
great.
friend, and like
And the world gets something awesome out of
Yeah.
it when you do something like that.
So these books, are these like the kind of kids books, like it's like 7 pages?
yeah, it's 24 pages because it had to be in order to fit in a binding, like in order to like
Right.
make a book.
It's got a lot of
It
pictures.
had to be so
Yeah, I love it.
so it's got like the author's preface, the bio page. Like we had to kind of fill it with some stuff to hit that
Yeah.
24 pages. I think the story itself is like, I don't know, 12 or 16 pages.
Okay.
That's
okay.
not bad.
And
That's
then I
cool.
hired
That's
an illustrator who I actually found on Facebook. She's from Brazil, but I just loved her
cool.
work.
Cool. That's cool.
So she painted, so it's all like watercolor paints, and so she painted them, and then like we scanned them or whatever, and then she sent me all the original paintings, and it's just been such a cool, like just even getting to meet her, and she had like a very cool life story too, where she
Yeah.
was working, I forget if it was like accounting or some job that was like her make money job,
Yeah.
and just felt so
Paycheck.
unfulfilled, and always kind of did art on the side and had always done art as a child, and one day just decided, I'm done, I can't do this life anymore, and I'm gonna do art.
Yeah.
And now she's a children's book
That's
illustrator.
so cool. That's awesome.
And like
Yeah.
the fact that that's the woman that I picked when I was
Yeah.
scrolling, and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
her you could tell like her whole heart was in the project. It wasn't just like, oh, I'm knocking it off because this is what I
Man,
do.
that's
Yeah.
Like the detail of it was just like,
we can only hope to get those kinds of. And that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
really cool.
Well, hey, if you ever want like a movie adaptation to exist,
yeah.
little kids-
far future, be like, I remember those dudes. Yeah, they said they make movies now. Let's see what they're doing.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Hit us up. We're gonna make
Yeah,
that.
we'll
I'm
be doing
in. I'm
something.
in. Let's
Heck
do
yeah.
it.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah,
All right.
so funny.
Well, we are about to reach the end
Mhm.
of this podcast.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Julia, for coming
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun talking to you. I feel like I learned a lot. Yeah, I learned a lot from you. So.
Yeah, well, that's great. And I love just like hearing what lights other people up. I love that you guys are here in this space.
This is what lights us up. Yeah.
Doing what lights you up and bringing on lots of different guests, and that
Yeah.
you're willing to meet someone that was kind of like a stranger to you.
Yeah.
And we're getting used to it.
Yeah, we're getting used to it.
We
Yeah.
have our first couple guests we knew somewhat, and then little by little we're starting to bring in
Just newer people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating because just hearing that, just even for our audience, just people listening, like that's awesome. Like
Yeah.
that's a great story. I feel like
you.
people should listen to, and
Thank you. And I'm still learning. I by no means have my life figured out. And
Yeah.
and I still have my own challenges and growth. And yeah. So thank you so much,
Yeah, of
you guys.
course.
Yes.
this
Thank
is
you
like-
so
Yeah.
much, Julie.
That's so
I,
fun.
yeah, I
Thank
feel
you,
like
thank you.
viewers gonna get a lot from this one.
Cool.
Yeah.
So this is
Cool.
a good one for sure.
Awesome.
Yay, yeah.
But anyway, I didn't realize we didn't even do an intro.
No, we didn't.
But it's all
I was
good.
ready to do it. I was like,
Because
it
we're
was
doing,
a great,
yeah.
It was such a great conversation. Honestly,
went-
it
Cool,
was
yeah,
so
yeah.
cool.
We went right into it.
Yeah,
but
straight up.
We're doing an outro.
Yeah, we are.
So anyway, thank you guys for tuning in once again to the Planet podcast. It's the PP Podcast, everyone. Episode 12 with their host,
Axel X Jimenez, and you're the host.
Daryl. All right,
Thank you.
guys.
See you
Thank you
guys.
again for being here. We hope you guys have a wonderful, cozy, comfy, lovely night. And we will see you on episode 13.
See you guys.
See you.
Bye.